I got Lucas McGill here. Tommy Lepore here from Blue Springs South. Brett Norfleet. Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast Prep Baseball Talk, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. We've got the 42 Classic that we're going to be out in a couple weeks at. We're looking forward to that. We'll get into some more information. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Youth Baseball Midwest. Follow us on Twitter at YBMcast or at YBM_cast for more information. Plus, our good friends over at Prime Sports Midwest, we've got our merchandise store up. Lauren's got the, what is that called? A URL. There it is. She's got the URL up on the screen right now. And so we've got our merchandise up. If you're a fan of YBM, we would love to send you over there. You can check out the T-shirts, hats, and all the stuff that we've got going on there. We've got some great stuff. Our comments at the end. We hit dingers, and you can get one of those. Live in the K zone, right? Pitchers, right? Live in the K zone.
Amen to that.
And so it's fun. Check that out. Go to the website there. You can check out our store. We appreciate it very much. We're close to 1,000 subscribers too, and we appreciate. We got our giveaway. Check that out here just a second. But I think we're 3 away from 1,000. So if you're watching, hit that subscribe button. Tell us a little bit about yourself in the description. That'll get you entered in, and we're going to give that away here real quick. Three more subscribers. We're giving away a bucket of baseballs, Marucci hitting net, 36-inch fungo bat, and from the old Mitch Thomas, I can't leave my dog out. He gets mad at me. From the hitting zone, he's got free hitting lesson and fielding lesson for you there. So great stuff. We appreciate all of our supporters here. So
we opened up in 2019, and basically there was a void in the area. I mean, we saw that there was an opportunity to have a retail store where people could come in and actually touch and feel the tangible object that they're buying.
And today, speaking of great contributors, as always, the Guru, Kevin Moulder. How you doing, man? We watched a good one yesterday, didn't we?
Yes, sir, we did. Had a good one. Doing well. We're in the thick of high school baseball season now, so enjoying myself.
Absolutely. And from the Midwest Futures, we had these guys on our winter workout tour. Jon Myers. Jon, thanks for joining the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Really excited to be here and talk baseball.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about some baseball. We got some new rankings out we'll get to here in a minute, but Class 6 around the GAC, guys, I'm looking at Francis Howell Central beating Francis Howell North 3-1. Zumwalt South took a loss to Liberty, the Liberty Eagles. Liberty is quietly 7-4 on the early season. We talked a little bit about that, didn't we, Kevin?
Yeah, I noticed that Liberty's off to a great start, and overcoming a little adversity. They lost on paper their top player, pitcher and position player, Seth Bennis, for the year, but they've responded well. Had some guys step up, and solid start for Liberty.
Absolutely. And I'm a bit surprised at this one. Holt takes another loss. They lose to Zumwalt North 7-6. Holt's 3-7 on the young year, and I did not see that coming. How about you guys?
No, I didn't see that coming, but we do see this from time to time. Every single year, team will get out of the gate slow and then kind of find themselves, or the opposite. Team gets out of the gates fast and kind of stumbles. We did see that last season. As you recall, Lindbergh had a kind of a real rough stretch kind of in the middle of the season, and then rebounded and ended up making a great Final Four round. So, just because you get off to a poor start the first 2 weeks of the season or whatever we are here, doesn't mean that the season is lost. We can kind of get into that more as we talk about the game that we did last night. But, you are starting to learn some things about some of the teams here.
The juggernaut known as Fort Zumwalt West. And, I mean, every year you kind of – because I was kind of suspect of Zumwalt West. It's like Ken Deverman's there. They had some kid. They got Nick Alagna. They had some pieces. Cooper Robertson at third base. They had some guys, but you weren't sure. But I'll tell you what, we saw – go ahead, John. Your thought?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, we've got last night I think a couple guys went out there, and I know I had Tanner Sullivan and Jeter Rupp go out there and really pitch it well. And those guys, they just go out there and win. That's what Zumwalt West has been doing. They grind it out and make things happen. At the end of the day, they take it. So I love the way they play and how golf kind of takes it to them too.
John, talk to us a little bit, Tanner Sullivan, because we all know about Kenton Deverman. Obviously, that's the ace of the ball club, heading to Evansville, one of the top pitchers in the area. But it takes more than one. And I know Tanner Sullivan he was the starting pitcher when they beat Howell, one of the top teams in the state. Talk to us a little bit about what makes Tanner a good pitcher.
Yeah, Tanner is, he's impressive. I mean, in the weight room, he's really getting after it. He is a guy that really fills it up, but just commands his own, and he'll keep you off balance. Has a pretty devastating slider as well that really gets the kids off balance. So for Tanner, I mean, I think even though the velocity might not be as great as some of the other guys, I think he's an ace of his own as well. I really do think he can go out there and compete with the best of them and give that club a chance to win every day. And I think last night, I think he went 8 innings and 94 pitches, something like that, in 8 innings. And then Jeter Rupp came in, the lefty. I mean, that kid's special too. I mean, this lefty can really move the ball. And I think he's one of the better pitchers around too. And I think he's just one to look at moving forward. And skinny kid, he's put on some muscle and some mass, but I think that's another kid to look out for.
Clearly, they got some depth there, and you don't rip off this many wins like Zumwalt West has done without a lot of quality pitching. And I know Tanner Sullivan specifically has done a really good job, and holding down that Howell offense, which is potent, is really impressive and says something about the quality of his stuff. And they came back raving about his slider and ability to throw strikes, and that's going to win. If you throw strikes and then you mix in a good breaking ball to go with it, that's going to be successful in high school baseball.
I think it was interesting when we were at the Futures facility, the winter workout tour. I'm talking to the guys that are around hitting. I'm trying to remember the one young man. I think he goes over to Lafayette or Marquette. Oh, he's from that side. Eureka, red-headed kid. Oh, geez, name doesn't pop in my head. Anyway,
Well, I know we have Josh Berger over at St.
No,
Dominic.
it wasn't Josh.
Okay.
Anyway, nonetheless, there's a lot of Jackson Carter was in that crew, and all those guys were standing around talking, and they were talking about Rupp. And I asked him, "What's the most difficult pitch?" He's lefty slider, and they all went Rupp, lefty slider, Rupp. He said that thing is nasty, and so
yeah, that kid's nasty.
And that goes to what you just said there. If you're throwing strikes and you can throw that slider, that off speed, Kevin, that's really hard to stay on balance and put the ball in play. You get weak contact, ground balls. Put the ball in play. I think that's very important.
Exactly, and I think those guys, you won't find anybody competing harder than those guys too. I mean, they want it every single day, and they don't want the ball taken out of their hands. So that's what you want.
And finish off, West beat Troy Buchanan 7-5 in that game. And then our GAC game of the week. Let's talk a little bit of that. We're going to do some other GAC here real quick, but let's Francis Howell 4-2 over Timberland last night. If you get a chance, if you want to watch the ball game, you can go. It's up on the channel right now. Go check that out, because these two gentlemen, Adam Shipley and Adam Hatchman, it was fun to watch. It really was. I think they dueled hard. It was a really well-played baseball game overall. And Francis Howell came out on top, and there you go. That offense, as you said, Kevin, this young man holding that offense down, it's tough because up and down that lineup, and this is why I think Howell is so dangerous throughout the whole year, is you don't get a break as a pitcher. That 9-hole is just as tough and as the kid at the top, Titus Sissel.
Yeah, a ton of depth, and that's what, and we talked about their defense, and then, the fourth arm they bring out of the day is throwing upper 80s and pounding the zone and strikes. So there's a lot to like there. I was encouraged by both teams. And, we've talked about that Timberland ball club. They haven't results-wise gotten off to a great start, but you can obviously see what will happen as the season progresses and Hatchman moves on to a full workload. They probably win that baseball game if Hatchman's fully unleashed. Yesterday he threw 4 innings. It was 2-0 when he comes out of the game. And, Howell finds a way to come back and win the ball game. Jackson Yarberry, another true ace, right-hander heading to St. Louis University. So they got a dynamic 1-2. And then, they showed well offensively. Shipley did a really good job. We talked about it a number of times on air, how well of a job he did limiting the damage. They stranded some runners. Titus Sissel made a phenomenal play at shortstop to gun a run down at the plate last night. So I thought it was just a really good high school baseball game. You had 2 stars on the mound, obviously with Hatchman and Shipley more than holding his own. So I walked away really impressed with both ball clubs, honestly.
You stopped by there a little bit there, John. What'd you see when you were at the ballpark?
Yeah, I mean, I love the energy that was brought to the game for sure. With Hatchman, he was, if he fills it up, I mean, it's going to be a real tough time hitting his pitching. He's got what it takes. And then with Shipley, same kind of thing. I think if he filled it up a little more, I think he would have even gone a little too. But I think both of them just competed at a very high level. And with those games, it's all about the heart in the end and who wants to get on and do their job, and that's who comes out with it.
I think it's interesting, as you pointed out, Kevin. They've got Hatchman on a pitch limit, which is fine. that's the way that is. And in his post-game interview, which we have, and that you can check out on the channel as well, he mentioned that. He says he felt like he got too deep in counts, and that was something he made a mention of, correct?
Yeah, and we talked about that. And, if you're, my takeaways from that was that was encouraging. And I know Adam fairly well. He wasn't happy with himself. And there's a kid that threw 4 shutout innings and had 9 strikeouts, and he still wasn't happy. And it's a fine line. You want to push for perfection, but you also want to realize, hey, you held down one of the state's top offenses for 4 straight innings and gave your team a great chance to win the ball game. But if you're sitting there and you're Adam, and this is how a mindset of a number one pitcher should be, is he didn't do enough to help his team win the game. If he is a little more efficient with his pitches, he might get 5-6 innings, and then maybe Timberland walks away with a 2-0 or a 2-1 victory. And that's what you're looking to do. You're looking to build and get better every single time. And but stuff wise, what we saw was special. 90 to 96, got up to 97. And these are good hitters. Francis Howell isn't your prototypical high school baseball team. They got guys committed to and signed with big time programs. Their leadoff hitters going to Mizzou. Obviously, Norfleet is going to Mizzou. Brady Wilson going to Jeffco. Aiden Rogers going to Jeffco. We got a Missouri Southern commit in there. So Brady Holtman, a big physical guy, going to play football at Wyoming. Bryson Naputi going to Sandrick. So it's a loaded lineup. And I know that I left a couple guys out there. But point is, he pitched extremely well, but there's always something to build on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think if they gave him a tighter hat, too, that would not come off every time he pitched the ball. He would throw plenty of strikes.
I think he had yesterday, too.
He had to catch his hat every time he threw, and I'm sure for him as frustrating as it was for us.
Yeah,
that's fun.
That wind blowing right in your face about 25, 30 miles per hour doesn't help the cause either.
No, but Lauren was suggesting some bobby pins.
Yeah.
I said snapbacks for all pitchers.
There you go.
Do snapbacks and tighten that thing up.
Yeah.
John, I wanna pose this to you. I'm watching Coach Zaire. I've been talking to him. We had him on the GAC preview. I really like Coach Zaire. One of the nicest people you meet. And I'm watching yesterday. I hadn't seen Timberland really in a game and this and that. Watching him with the kids talking and what I think he's working to develop the culture there. I think in his 3rd year, I think it is right now. Maybe I think that's what it is. Took over the program. And I think he's working really to build the culture, to take that. He's got sophomores in his lineup. Kevin made mention of a couple of those kids, and they're really good too, right?
Post banged a double yesterday. Left-handed sophomore bat, did a really nice job. And, keep in mind, he's facing a high-quality arm here, already committed to a Division I school. So he more than held his own in there. And then Carson Ramos was on it all night last night. He had some great swings, and he's so they got a couple nice young players in that lineup. And I like what I saw out of Timberland last night. They just ran into one of the top teams in the state.
And so I see that cultural, but it takes a little bit to develop the culture within what you're working to accomplish, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think bringing up some sophomores does do a lot for you as well. I mean, you need those guys to come up and perform, but they also need to, then bring on to the next group, right? When those freshmen become sophomores and just, I think that's what he's trying to create, and I think good things are ahead for this group. You know, like he was saying, if Hatchman had a longer workload, he could, that could have been a win for them. And then, who knows? Having a big win against a team like Howell brings you on to that next game with that energy as well, and we'll see what happens from there.
Absolutely. Guys, we're going to move on here a little bit to the Central. I know we talked a little bit already about Zumwalt South and Liberty. Is a 4-3 ball game. Liberty wins that one. The big one that was a surprise, we were watching this last night, Kevin, because Mike Morgan, his boy's going to be going to East. Washington, 9-1.
Yeah, that was a shocker, and not only a win, a big win. 9-1. Zumwalt East been playing really well, and looks like they had their clunker of the year last night, and I'm sure they'll look to get back on track today. I still like that Zumwalt East team a lot, and think they'll be fine. But everyone has one of those days where, hey, maybe they don't get the breaks. You make an error or two. Your pitcher has a rough outing. You run into a good arm, and credit to Washington. And you're going to see that. We talked about it yesterday at the beginning of the game. Opening week of conference. Teams are charged up, but while we're on the Zumwalt East team specifically, I would like to highlight one of John's guys here and one of my favorites in the state, Jackson Carter. He's the table setter for Zumwalt East. Yeah. One of the top uncommitted players in the area, ridiculously fast. He's the fastest player in the state, a 6'3" runner. John, talk to us a little bit about Jackson, what makes his game special, and just your thoughts on him.
Last night, even after that game that they had, that clunker of a game, he gives me a call after the game, asks me if he can bring a couple buddies up to the facility and hit because of the struggles of last night. And, that kind of shows a lot. And he actually brought a few of his guys out and led those guys over to kind of get some more work in, because we're not there yet type of player. And, he's leading, and I think he's changing a lot in those ways, being vocal, and, his work ethic it's there. And someone that picks him up is going to love the kid. But I think he's going to help this team, Zumwalt East, and really good things this year. And I think a couple guys, when they start picking it up as well, I think it'll be even more difficult club to beat.
I love what you said there.
Cool. Love to hear that.
Yeah, because he's still only a junior. So if he's starting to learn how to lead as a junior, that just the growth potential and whatnot. And not to mention, he's hitting .458 on this early season. And he felt like we're not, we got to do this. That shows you the person. And I know his dad a little bit, and the family there. It's there. Everything is there for him.
It does make it easier to lead. He obviously was a full-time starter as a sophomore, so he has a year of experience under his belt at the varsity level. So that'll pay dividends, during this year, kind of puts you in a position where you might be able to take charge and lead, like it sounds like he was doing last night. So
that's
very
awesome.
Cool to see.
This young season, we talked about this a little bit. I said, pay attention. I like what Coach Dane Goff, is doing at Washington. They're 7-3. They're 7-3.
You did call that before the season. Very.
I like their players. They were hovering around that, Aiden Pekka, Sam Pauley. They're two really nice players. They've got some guys that can pitch. I think his name that pitched last night, Grant Trentman, I think I'll have to check that. I guess was just dealing. He's got some players, and I think this could be a year that you see kind of Washington put themselves in that place. And, those golf guys, man, they just get it done, don't they? Those Goff brothers, I should say. There you go. And so I think that's interesting. So we'll look at Washington a little bit there as we finish up. Warrenton, they played Winfield. Winfield beat them 2-1. Winfield on the early season. Coach Jamie Stokes over there, we had him on the show. He's got a 3-1 record right now. I'm beating a Class 5 team in Warrenton, and Warrenton's got some offense. So that to me was an interesting score right there. And then to finish out that Class 4, I messed that up. Hang on, guys. I'm in the wrong place. There it is. St. Charles West. They beat up on St. Charles 15-0. That's a tough one right there. But the other one that strikes me in this, Kevin, is a team we were talking about early on, maybe a year away. North Point is 5-2 and beat Orchard Farm 9-7.
That's exciting. I am looking forward to getting out to North Point and seeing that ball club play. I think it's just fascinating, not just from a baseball standpoint, kind of more from just the interest of starting a new school and just seeing it grow and develop. Everything I've heard, it's supposed to be enrollment-wise over the next couple of years grow into one of the larger enrollments in the area. But it is fun to kind of watch the whole process unfold and grow. And, congratulations to those guys. They still don't have, to my understanding, the full they haven't had a freshman class go through the program yet. So
Right.
They're still going to continue to be building. I believe that freshman class is of the junior age right now. So,
I think so.
I'm sure it'll continue to get better and better. And we're excited to get out and see them.
Absolutely. We're going to have they're going to be part of our Friday Night Lights.
And they're your colors, Brian.
Yeah, baby. I'm a fan already. Exactly.
I've been raised to not like orange, though, Brian. So I'm not behind that motion, but I'm not going to hold it against them.
That's cool. That's why I told we were talking about this.
The Webster Groves reference.
Yes, I'm with you. But I feel the same way, Kevin. There's an affinity to dislike pinstripes with me. I don't like pinstripes. Okay. I am a Yankee hater.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pinstripes are nice, especially getting a set of pinstripe pants for a high school team. You get a white pair, a gray pair, and you go pinstripe pant, and then you got 2 pairs of pants for home, 2 pairs of pants for the road. Pinstripe pants look good with a solid colored jersey. It's a good way to kind of outfit your team, in my opinion, Brian.
Yeah, no.
I agree. I just think they need to fill them. They need to fill it out if they're going to wear the pinstripes.
Yeah, get in the weight room.
Can't have a little skinny kid in pinstripes. I've seen that way too many times. Not a good look.
Not a good look.
So if y'all are hearing, get in the weight room.
Oh man, let's take a look at this.
I'm sure your friends at Prime Sports can outfit anyone with a set of pinstripe pants. Is that where Rick can take care of everyone?
I'm sure Rick will get you whatever you need.
Okay.
If you want pinstripes, you can take pinstripes. It just wouldn't. And I'm a uniform kind of guy. I believe in the old adage: if you look good, you play good.
Absolutely.
That's just my opinion. Kevin, let's roll over to your rankings you've updated here, and take a look at the large school. Boom, right at the top, Blue Springs South.
So, yeah, it's an interesting top of the poll here because we've had some losses by everyone now, Blue Springs South, we talked about them, well before the season about being one of the top teams. It's not a surprise to see them in the top spot. A lot of high-end pitching, but came over, saw them beat Francis Howell on Saturday. That's I think they're not going away. They're going to be in the top portion of the rankings throughout the year, and it's a lot of talent there out of Blue Springs South.
Absolutely. You then round out the top 5 with Liberty North, Francis Howell, Jackson, and Fort Zumwalt West. Not a lot of argument in that. You got CBC down at the 6th spot, but I think it was interesting. You were talking about they schedule so much difficult, and there's a lot of difficulty. You kind of don't know what to make about that sometimes, do you?
Yeah, it works both ways. And so, I'm sure there's people that wonder, like, hey, this team's 10-1 or, 27-0, and this other team is 8-6, and the 8-6 team is ranked, and the team that's 75-1 is not ranked. Why is that? I do factor in strength of schedule, and CBC has played a hellacious schedule, to be honest with you. They've played a lot of the top ranked teams already. They played out of state. They went to Millington to play at the USA Complex and played a lot of high-end teams there. And then just the sheer volume of games they played, they've played a lot of games. So they've dropped some. It does make it hard to evaluate. Sometimes they might drop a game that you otherwise might think they should win. But a lot of talent there. But they did stub their toe again last night with an opening conference loss to DeSmet, I believe. And DeSmet has a couple nice wins because Zumwalt West is sitting there with one loss, and that one loss was to DeSmet. So, some interesting things going on early in the season.
Absolutely. Do you round out the top 10 with Nixa, Staley, and then Rockbridge? And the Class 5 team you got there, Fort Zumwalt East. I know they took that one loss, but I think they're right there. And I like when you're talking about, we talk about large schools. The Class 5, you got Glendale in there, Willard. I think that one, Willard is always going to be there. They play that schedule. They were over in that tournament with CBC down there in Memphis, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right, yeah. And I saw another good one on Monday when I went to see Blair Oaks and Will Lippert. Saw them play Helias Catholic, who is off to a phenomenal start, and they're in our on-deck teams. And that Helias Catholic Blair Oaks game was eerily reminiscent of the game we watched yesterday. Will Lippert was on the mound for Blair Oaks. Blair Oak had a 1-0 lead. Will Lippert is obviously one of the best arms in the state. Packed house of scouts, probably about 20 pro guys at the game. Will did not disappoint, struck out 16 guys. And I believe it was 5 innings of work. And no, it was 6 innings of work. I apologize. And Helias Catholic tied the game up in the 7th and won it in the 9th, and showed a lot of resiliency and is a really nice ball club. So another good 5A team.
And there you go, because in the 5As on deck, and I think this is where I want to make sure, you've got Jefferson City, who's playing really well right now, St. Dominic, of course, Webster Groves. They're Class 5 as well. They're playing well.
Webster had a big win yesterday versus Lindbergh. They've Coach Wiggins has done a good job with that ball club or that program, I should say. And they're making people notice.
Absolutely. Platte County over on the west side, and then Festus, who, in both those, that was the championship game last year, Platte County and Festus. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of really good teams. I think the top 10, these rankings, again, folks, as Kevin says, this isn't, set in stone or etched there. He's taken a look at these things. And, I think if you want, please comment below and you can say, Kevin, you're absolutely out of your mind.
Oh, yeah. You won't be the only one to think that. One game that has me really excited, and it's going to heavily weigh into next week's rankings. A team that's really on my radar, that's off to a great start, is Vianney. They have a great record. They're 10-1. They lost this weekend to Francis Howell. But Vianney's winning a lot of games. We know, we've talked about this for over a year. They got a lot of talent in that program, and they're starting to put things together. They're racking up the wins. They play Jackson today at Vianney. Most likely the game I'm going to go to. I think the weather's going to clear out of here, and they're on field turf, so the game should happen. My thoughts on Jackson. I hold them in high regard. They got a lot of talent. So that's going to be a fun game. We're going to see Vianney versus one of the state's best teams, and Vianney should certainly consider themselves one of the state's best teams. So that's going to be a heavyweight bout. That'll be a fun early season matchup to take in.
Yeah, absolutely. Smalls, and I want to run over real quick. The coaches poll came out too as well, and they got Zumwalt West number 1, Blue Springs South number 2, Liberty North, Francis Howell. Then they got Vianney in that 5 spot, and so I think it's fun to look at both sides of this. You got the coaches poll over here, you got Kevin's poll there. Rockbridge at number 6, Nixa, CBC, Jackson, and Eureka, with others receiving votes, was Lee Summit West, which I think is very good, Lebanon, and Liberty.
That Lee Summit West team is very good, and they've beaten Liberty North twice, which is they must have some sort of secret recipe, because that Liberty North team is really strong. You should point out that is the 6A poll for the Missouri, so they don't have the 5As in there.
Yeah, and in the 5A, you can do it Glendale, Zumwalt East, Helias Catholic, Willard. Then Camdenton, there's another one we can't forget. It's Lakers. Hard to get. Yeah, they're really good. They're 9-2 on the season. Zumwalt South is off to a good start. Platte County, Kearney, Webb City. Then Festus is number 10 there, and then St. Dominic is still in that, and Lutheran South. So in the receiving votes. So these are teams. What we're talking about here, the GAC in there and whatnot. I think we're pretty on track here, and it'll be a lot of fun as we get into the GAC. I want to finish up today with a little conversation, because yesterday we noted they have some of these young pitchers on early pitch counts. And whether we agree or disagree or whatnot, there's reason to these things. And John, we were talking about this before the show. There's an important reason as to why some of these kids are on these early pitch counts, correct?
Yeah, of course. I know some of them, if they haven't done the workload, then they need to build up still. And for a guy like, say, Hatchman last night, he still needs to build up and get to that 90 pitch mark. So you can't just go straight from 60 to 90 with the intensity that he throws at as well. And you got to protect all the guys, but protect him as well. And at the end of the day, yeah, we all love to win, but you got to think about the kids at the end of the day.
So
John, okay, so from as a club owner perspective, and just really more of just a good baseball guy and developing young talent, why can't a pitcher on one of the first 2 weeks of the season go out and throw? I think Misha is 105 pitches for juniors and seniors, I believe. Why would if I'm throwing bullpens, or they're throwing bullpens with you in the winter, and you're getting them to 30 pitches, 40 pitches, talk about that process on why it's important to build guys up, and does age factor into this? If it's a freshman that we're talking about, or a sophomore versus a senior, give us your thoughts on that part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, age factors just a little bit into it, but at the end of the day, uh, these arms get sore, and when we get sore, we get fatigued. All of a sudden, injuries happen. Now you don't have them for the rest of the year, nor do they. And that's the whole thing, is for them to go out and pitch and at their highest ability. And when we push those arms, we're going to have a lot of issues. And for the younger guys, for me at least, I like having them out there succeeding. And when they succeed and they're at their number of pitches, they need to come out and have that high of being, on the success side of things too. And but then keep building throughout their bullpens and then into the game, because the intensity in the game is totally different than the intensity in a bullpen. Going against hitters is different mentally and physically. I mean, you're trying to, yes, get ahead and get them to put the ball in play earlier, but now you're trying to get a strikeout pitch and throw it harder, spin it harder. Just like we were talking about earlier before the show, it's you're going to compete, and yes, you still want the ball, but you're very fatigued. I mean, for him to throw 70, 75 pitches, you're going to be fatigued there. Now, if you jump up to 100, you're just looking for a potential injury, and that's what we definitely don't want.
I want you to speak to that end there. And Kevin, you can remember, I think Adam made mention of this. You're opening GAC, it's how the adrenaline rush early in that and what that does to your body as you move along. And you were talking about fatigue. That has a factor, doesn't it?
There's no doubt that, throwing a bullpen, no matter how hard you're trying to throw your bullpen, is a different level of intensity versus live game action, especially a heated, conference game or, tournament game, those type of things. The intensity level is just different. So your body is always going to be more sore after facing live competition in a heat of the battle type moment. So that is part of the process that these guys are building into.
Jon?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I mean, for him especially, I mean, for Hatchman, I mean, he's got a lot of things riding on it too. I mean, he had scouts out there watching him. I mean, looked like almost all 30 clubs out there, but there's more pressure than built in, and also he's thinking about it 3 days prior, and there's a lot of mental fatigue going on too. You just got a lot you're giving in the moment, and you're so anxious for this game to start, and when it does, you're giving it everything you have. And for him to get through those 4, which, like we said, if we could pound the zone a little more, I think he could get through 5, 6 easy with that 70 pitch count. And for him, there's just all that. It's a lot of effort that he's got to bring, and yeah, it's going to be real tough to then get to that 100 pitch mark when you haven't even been there before. It's just be a tough battle the whole way.
I really
You will note that Francis Howell did a good job taking care of their guy. Shipley threw 5, and there's another talented guy that Coach Perkins has to kind of take care of there. Obviously, going to St. Louis U, so he's watching out for his guy and building him up. You've noticed how he's handled Brett Norfleet. You can tell Coach Perkins right now is kind of picking his spots. I'm sure if it was up to Brett, he'd probably want to pitch more, or but I think Coach Perkins probably has an end game in mind here and is building his guy up and getting him ready for more geared towards the end of the season. So smart by both coaches, in my opinion, and they're in it for the long haul.
I liked Alex Bryan in that closer spot. He looked real comfortable, didn't he?
He was really good last night, and has been good this season. I don't want to say under the radar, but you start talking about all these big names at Howell, and you're going to have to start working Alex Bryan into that conversation. He's pitching now into the upper 80s on the top side of it. And what I like about Alex is he commands 3 pitches for strikes. He can throw that curveball or change up at any count. and he throws a ton of strikes and comes right at you. So there's a lot to like there, and kind of just speaks to the depth of Francis Howell. That guy's not even a conference starter for them because they got Naputi and Shipley. Whereas if he was at another school, a lot of times he would be their Tuesday starter there, starting game one of conference. If I'm describing a mid to upper 80s guy with 3 pitches for strikes at any time.
And to, as we're finishing up this, I was talking with Adam after a little bit, and I really liked his attitude. When there was a couple times where he might not got the call he wanted, and I thought his pace picked up. He had a good rhythm. It helped him consistently throw strikes, and it just, I mean, he wasn't necessarily upset, but he goes, "Okay, I'm gonna show y'all," and he just ran back, relaxed, and fired the baseball.
He pitched last night. I had the gun on him most of the game. He kind of hung out in that 92, 94, but then there was a couple moments when game got a little extra intense. Maybe he didn't get a call or something happened, and then you saw 96 or 97, and he saved it. It's there for him. If he wanted to, I'm sure within the first couple pitches of the game, he could dial up a 96 or 7, but you don't see that. And I like that. He kind of hangs out in that 91, 94 range. And then when he needs it, he can dial it up, which, John, that can make it tough. If you're used to seeing a certain fastball and then that pitcher has an extra dial in there, that's tough on a hitter, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I always look at it, when the other teams are getting a little rowdier, some guys you don't want to do that with. A Hatchman being one of them, a Shipley even being one of, another guy. You get those guys worked up. I mean, they're going to strike out 3 guys and they're going to ramp their team up. I mean, those are guys that you don't want to get to that level. And I would love for, both of them to keep that kind of same intensity while they're pitching. And with the pace that Hatchman picked up when they got on him, I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, he just went right at him, showed his 96, 97, see you later, let's get out of here. And I think that some teams can learn a little something from that and learn who they're facing. And that's kind of the, the fight in those guys and the competitiveness in those guys. And that's what I love about baseball.
Absolutely.
Careful what you wish for, right, John?
That's exactly right. Exactly right. Now, hopefully you got a hitter that can really, really get them. So,
yeah.
I'm looking forward next week, GAC Game of the Week. We'll just go ahead and throw it out there now. We're going to be at Carshield Field. There's a little change in the schedule. It'll be at 2 o'clock at Carshield Field. It's going to be part of the GAC Classic. We're working now to try and maybe throw a couple extra games in for that GAC Classic. We'll just have to see. But we're definitely going to be there 2 o'clock. It'll be Timberland. It was originally Timberland at Francis Howell Central. Francis Howell Central is still the home game. But I'm looking forward to seeing it's either going to be Braden Rubel or Lane Harris, I would imagine. And we'll get to see probably Adam Hatchman again in the second week. It'll be interesting to see how that progression goes from there and against that Francis Howell Central team.
Well, we can't lose here. We're going to get to see a frontline lefty for Howell Central in either Rubel or Harris, and then we get to see Hatchman again, and that sounds like fun. I can't wait till next Tuesday.
It is going to be fun. I definitely like that thought process. Jon Myers, folks, Midwest Futures. Thanks for tuning in. Listen to me. Yeah, thanks for coming on the show.
Brian, I need to pat myself. I need to pat myself on the back. I haven't brought this up yet, but Jon Myers, I recruited him to St. Louis University. It was one of the best recruiting jobs I've ever done. But John was a star at St. Louis U, hit like 17, 18 bombs for us his senior year, and ended up getting to go on and play in the Marlins organization. So This is just me shining the light on myself. It was one of my great accomplishments as a coach, is convincing Jon Myers to come to St. Louis U, and he truthfully was a star and did big things.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you recruiting me, because that was some of the best times of my life, and playing for Kevin that was amazing for me as well.
There you
Trust
go.
me, he couldn't hit it all before I coached him, and then all of a sudden I taught him how to hit all these home runs. And
That's exactly right. I was a bunter. I bunted all the time, and then he trained me.
Couldn't be further from the truth. I didn't teach him a thing, but man, he could hit. He could really hit and had big time power.
That's why we call him the Guru, John.
That's right. That's right. He can do it all. That's exactly right.
Oh my goodness.
That's awesome. There you go, folks. Jon Myers, Midwest Futures, and St. Louis University superstar. Is that about right? Right, Kevin?
No, it is accurate.
There you go.
It's accurate.
Kevin Moulder, always a pleasure. Thanks for all the knowledge, bud.
Absolutely.
So, guys, until next week, everybody remember, we got the giveaways. We're getting to 1,000. Subscribe, hit that dinger next to it. Hit that dinger, because that's what we do around here. We hit dingers. And that'll get you all the notifications for upcoming episodes when we're going to be out at the ballpark. All the youth baseball action with Game 7 baseball. We're going to be out at 2 weeks at the 42 Classic. Saturday trivia. Get yourself ready. It's all going to be Jackie Robinson trivia, because it's Jackie Robinson Day. April 15th, Jackie Robinson Day, will be out at the 42 Classic, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to enjoy that one very
Ryan,
much.
how many sports did Jackie Robinson play in college?
I think he played 4. He played football,
That's right.
baseball, track and field, and basketball.
That's correct. Good job.
Good job.
You got the first trivia question answered.
Exactly. We're going to use that one, too, because that's a good one. And so that's what I'm telling the kids. You got to bone up. Let's get some history in these young baseball players, right?
There we go.
That's right.
Jackie Robinson was a stud. I mean, that guy could play. He was an athlete.
That's an understatement.
Right?
Yeah.
No kidding. Yeah. If you can do that many sports in college, I mean, who does that today? Nobody?
Oh, yeah. It's a different world, but yeah, nonetheless, still ridiculously impressive.
Exactly. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. We do appreciate it. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes. So, John, being the hitter that you are, you got some advice for the hitters?
Pitchers, please keep throwing strikes, throw fastballs, and hitters, be aggressive and eat them up.
I love that one. Thanks a lot, folks. We'll see you next time.